lá, cái nào không? Rồi, chọn cái bao nhiêu phần?
Là xung, nó không lém.
I see over there, huh? Give the referee off.
A very good evening to you and welcome to the Jurong West Stadium, where it's going to be time for us to launch into another super encounter. This of course is part of the Dragons development program, where Singapore face off with Hong Kong, China. It's going to be a big game, it's a friendly, but that's pretty much where the initiative stops and it gets competitive after that. So stick with us as we take you through the action. It's been a rather odd day for us, a lot of rain, but that's not enough to have dampened the spirits for the teams that are on the pitch in front of us. So it will be an exciting one, and keep in mind the fact, as we said, do not take the word friendly for granted, because at the end of the day, it's going to be, as it always is, a big competitive game. Stick with us.
Hey, stop! 反翻轉件衫。
Let's have a good one, yeah? Thank you. I understand. I agree. Do we need this outside?
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thanks, buddy. A very good evening to you, and welcome to the heart of rugby. And when I say that, of course, I mean this beautiful stadium at Jurong West, and we are coming at you live from it. It's going to be a very interesting day for us, because up next we've got Singapore Rugby taking on the Hong Kong China Dragons. This is a very, very interesting game, and the reason why I say that is it's part of a development program. Now we're looking at the best players, in Hong Kong, taken from different clubs and fused together. The initiative is, of course, aimed towards development and also aimed towards, betterment. Let's go with the Singapore team. We've got Keith Tan, Paul Sharma, Nazruddin Osman, Brannon Noble, Sean Casey, Hugh Lindsay, Russell Wong, Chris Hodges, Lucius Yao, Ezekiel So, Fazil Olanian, Andrew Wallace, Roy Tonhart, Isaac Go, and Thomas Kenaway. The finishers, of course, we've got Nicholas Theo, Mitchell Wong, Brian Lau, Harish Krishnan, Kenneth Bernard Tay, Charles Osler, and Hisham Khalid. So that's pretty much what we're looking at for the Singapore development team. Now, these are all pro players. All have represented their national squads as well as play for clubs. It's the same with the Hong Kong China Dragons 15s. Zhao Tian Long, Ryan Yao, Sung Wai Shing, Calvin Chang, Tavon Yum, Wesley Suan, Leo To, Anselm Chan, Eric Chui, who's the captain, Justin Chung, Chong Ho Lun. So these are, some of the players that will be taking up positions. We will, of course, get to talking about this international friendly more in detail. So Singapore development versus Hong Kong China Dragons. We're about to get into the action right here. And the Dragons 15s, of course, pretty much up against the Lions. That's exactly what I would term it as. It will be an interesting battle, don't forget that, and it will be also very interesting to find out, well, what comes out of this beautiful encounter. It's going to be competitive. Don't expect. The reason for these kind of programs, or these international friendlies, is very simple. Teams get to face each other to not only get more groomed, but you get your skills honed when you play rugby teams from different nations, and that's the beauty of it, because different nations endorse a different style of play. Hong Kong China, of course, are in white and blue, and Singapore in their home jerseys, which is red and black. It's about to get started right here at the Jurong West Stadium. Keep in mind the fact that we've got, of course, well, as I said, quite an interesting, game lined up for us here. So it is Hong Kong China to get started with the action. Great interception there coming in from, Team Singapore, but that'll be short-lived. And Singapore just about managed to, pull away, but not for too long. To be fair to the Dragons, they have advanced into the Singapore area, and they've stuck in that half for a tad bit. Keep in mind the fact that most of the important or action-packed games are played here. We do have the international rugby sevens that is normally played at the national stadium, and that's a part of the international rugby sevens calendar. But right here at the Jurong West Stadium, we've had the C7s recently, and we've got so many inter well, nation rugby 15s are being played out here. So it's also the training ground where the women's and the men's rugby teams of Singapore train and practice. It's home for them, very, very familiar turf. So it shouldn't be too much of an issue as far as well, the action is concerned. And as far as, well, I think home comforts are concerned, so Singapore will rely on that. But while we talk about that, let's get straight back into business here, and it's going to be the first line out. It will be interesting as Singapore development will look to get the better of well, Hong Kong, China. They will be eager to get first points on the board. It's going to be interesting. Well, Hong Kong, China to get the benefit of the call. It's a quick run that we're looking at. And Justin Nick, well, didn't progress too far. Wai Shing also being kept at bay. It's a quick pickup, done beautifully there. It was Eric Wai with the steal. Well, that's exactly what you require down the left flank. Well, goes Anselm Kun. It's always going to be a tough game here. We do know that, and it's going to be, well, every man for himself. Well, just missing out on the interception, but I think that's a quick collect. And well done there, if you ask me. Well, if you go through the Hong Kong, China team's selection process, it's a pretty lengthy one. We'll talk about that, in detail because that's so important. But right now, we are looking at a bit of work, but not for too long. There's Kenway Thomas, who's just brought off his feet. Well, certainly looks like it's very early, well, to be really calling anything in the game because, both these teams are fairly tough. They come from a very, very serious training. They're seasoned for the occasion. They play in and day out for their clubs. So these lads do pack in a certain bit of finesse that is quite different, a certain bit of, well, experience, which is strong enough to be, competing on international or on big platforms or the big stage. And the referee, of course, has called a scrum, so it's going to be interesting as the teams once again battle it out for that precious ball. Well, let's remind you a little bit on the weather conditions in these parts. It was fairly hot in the afternoon, and then, well, a bit of a torrential downpour for the rest of the evening, and it's just kind of eased up a little bit. Still a few, cloudy skies, but absolutely no spot of rain, which makes for, I think, a very, very good, well, evening and a perfect setting. Well, still holding on here, Hong Kong, China. Just a bit of damage control being done there by Leo Park. And of course, get it out of the touch line, and you always want to have, well, a second line out. That'll be easy enough.
Let's go. Cancel.
So the ball just going into touch twice so far in this event. Finally getting a chance to, well, just move your feet around a little bit, and Team Singapore just attempting to do that. Good interception by the visitors here. This quick run has got to pace himself out well. I don't think there was too much of thought put into that. He had, well, two lads from the home team right in front of him. Scaling a wall might be easy. Running into one, that's another story. Well, decent enough grab down the left. Just trying to create some sort of an opportunity now. Team Singapore, well, pressing forward. I think the intention is very clear. They're trying to keep the ball in the visitors' area. They've been doing that for some time. We're barely 6 minutes in. Remember, there's a good bit of time left in this game. Fairly windy conditions, which of course, when it is windy, does make for, well, a bit of comfort. You know, it kind of eases things just a tad bit. Got a few players here we have seen, you know, play over a period of time. Most of them, including lads like Russell Wong, you know, Lucius Yao, Ezekiel So, for Team Singapore. And then, of course, you've got the lads who've, you know, been playing for Hong Kong, China. And if you ever get a chance to, you know, visit Hong Kong, and you'll see these lads playing day in and day out. And that's an interesting thing, because there's so much of dedication, there's so much of well, passion and focus in the sport, and it kind of, you know, overrides most other sports. It's just a done thing. It happens all the time. The line out again. And to do the honors, it's going to be Osman. And this time, a very, very sweet bit of a collect from Noble. Brandon Noble just manages to get to it. Well, Nasruddin Osman, he's had, well, the chance to swing his arm over, well, 3 times. Just trying to figure out what Sean Casey was up to. Well, just loves himself a good bit of action. And opportunity up. You would believe for Team Singapore. I think Team Hong Kong, China just having, well, a moment there earlier, and the referee, of course, spotting a misdemeanor, which is why we do have an opportunity for Team Singapore. And I think that's just a bit of a wasted one just after getting that across the line. So unable to, after scoring a try, unable to do much, of course. And I don't think it's going to matter, because 5 points in the bag is what it counts for. So beautifully done by Team Singapore just to get the party started. So Paul Sharma just getting the party started for Team Singapore with the first try. And just about barely missed it with that quick run down the line. Well, no conversion, or it could have gone up to 7. But having said that, I don't think that's too much of a concern, because taking the early lead is what matters most of all. Well, keep in mind the fact that with 10 minutes done, there's still a good bit of time for Hong Kong, China to creep back into it. And it's a scrum back again. Well, the visitors will be very keen to claim it, and well played there. Eric White, the scrum half, just doing well enough. He's a bit of a sneaky customer. it is the visitors, of course, who win the benefit of that call by the referee. Well, keep in mind the fact that while we often talk about, so many games and umpires and officials, it's never ever easy in rugby. The officials, spotting misdemeanors and the small differences that exist between them is one of the toughest jobs, and the amount that they have to know, the knowledge, is just phenomenal. It's not something that you see, in other sports where the infringements or, the rules and regulations have fewer fouls in there, but in rugby it can be really a ton. So we've got, well, a referee in here who's, well, spot on. We've also got our touch judges or the assistant referees. And Nazruddin Osman back in a familiar position. Team Singapore will claim it this time. Very quick run there from Ezekiel. Well, the lads in white just holding their own here. We're just trying to drive that through. Really pushing hard here was Thomas. Well, it can be a bit daunting when you are playing against, a team that is fit as well. And as I said, one thing that the Hong Kong China Dragons, 15 have, they are a pacey bunch. They rely very heavily on pace. You can look at well, if you just look at their build, it'll tell you very much. These lads also excel when they get onto playing rugby sevens, and that's because they've got the pace factor about them. And that's not the shorter, but I'd always call it the quicker format of the game. 15s can be just a tad bit more forgiving in that sense. Save your stamina, that's what I mean. But sevens calls for extreme stamina. If you're a fan like me, you love both, forms of the sport. Of course, on any given day, it's the 15s that'll always have the beloved edge. If you've grown up watching rugby. Hong Kong China once again winning the benefit of the call. I did say this earlier, that you've got Eric Chui, the scrum half. He's a very, very sneaky customer, a very intelligent player. So it'll be very interesting to see, well, if he can help Hong Kong China Dragons restore parity, well, soon enough. So let's not forget, it was a very good start here so far in that first 10 minutes where, Paul Sharma got the party started. And it will be interesting to see how the lads in white and blue can step it up. Here's Eric Chui. Just putting that ball into touch, forcing the line out here, I think definitely has a plan. And that's always going to work in your favor. The ball restored. It's going to be interesting, because now that's very close to, well, the Singapore touchline, and I think it'll be very important to see, well, what happens here. Hong Kong, China definitely looking to force, well, a try here somehow or the other. And that's stolen away. Just a counter move. Well done there by Russell. Just pull it away from Wesley Soon. But the visitors alert to the danger. It's Casey. And that's picked up safely by Fazil. Well, I do believe the Dragons were so close to actually, well, nailing a try there, right within sniffing distance of it. And Team Singapore just, while putting the brakes on their momentum at that point. And that's interesting, because as I did say this earlier, it's very different from a pacey affair. It's always an affair of mind and matter, well put together, not one over the other. And this time Singapore will get, well, the advantage as we get into the scrum once again. And it's Lucius Yao who will take the lead here. He's the scrum half for Team Singapore. It's one of the greatest joys when you start playing rugby in school, isn't it? Or, in high school, depending on when you start. Just the ability to disassemble and reassemble. And that always happens when, well, the official isn't too happy. Just a bit too much of tugging, and when the positions aren't well defined and clear. So here we go. It's Lucius Yao. And the referee definitely not happy. So it's going to be another battle for the ball here as we close in on 20 minutes. Well, time just flies, doesn't it? You would sometimes believe that, well, it would take a bit of time to actually get there. Well, just in case you didn't know this, the Team Singapore head coach is Jonathan Carswell. You've also got the SNG coach, John Yap, one of the most, dedicated SNC coach, John Yap, one of the most dedicated, focused loyalists of the sport that I've seen. Oh, he's absolutely wonderful. The amount of time that he does spend, with the sport and with its development, it's quite, well, admirable more than anything else. And, Well, Singapore getting the advantage of the line out. Now keep in mind the fact a chance for another try might be around. Sean Casey stuck in a sea of, or a bit of a whirlpool there. And the referee, of course, calling that in favor. I would have believed it called that in favor of Hong Kong China, but I think it's just going to be even Stevens with a. So here we go back again with the scrum, and that's going to be closer to the line than anything else. I think it's going to call for, well, the team just to pull out as much as they can. Well, a bit of push and pull. Now, I almost thought that, Lucius would have had it in control. That's just going to roll a little bit. That's just unbelievable. Well, when you want to put a plan into action. And I do believe that Team Singapore were just about, well, cautious about celebrating any joy. Because the referee just making sure that, well, that whistle was blown just before Team Singapore could add another 5 points to the bag. Well, do remember your try always has to be clean, and it's the only thing that differs between, well, American football and rugby, isn't it? A touchdown and a try. But in American football, you don't really need to tap the ball down. You can just run across and get across the finish line and jubilantly celebrate. But I always think there's just a bit of class to this. And easy does it. That plan's finally worked out. It took a bit of time. Hong Kong China, of course, picking up a caution. So Lucius stepping up for the conversion. And Lucius does well here. You would believe. Well, he's got a good foot on him normally, but he's missed out on 2 occasions. So Chris Hodges, well, doing the needful here to add another 5 points to the bag. Paul Sharma and Chris Hodges and all that skirmish. Well, it's a very well executed plan if you think about it. Well, he missed out on the first occasion. And, well, just a minute and a half later, and everything had changed back again. So very smartly done. Well, there's definitely got to be something in here for Team Hong Kong. Remember, it's 25 minutes in. We've got 10 points on the board for Team Singapore. 2 successful tries. And Hodges doing extremely well there. Well, crawling towards the try line, just making sure that, well, he had the touch, kept it clean for the finish. Here's Nazrullah Osman, brought down back again. And that's what you call a breakaway. It needs to escape the blushes, but not for too long. I think that's a good job being done here by, well, Justin Lai. Nick Justin Lai with the takedown. And this time it's Brannan, brought down. But that won't seem for too long, and that's absolutely phenomenal. So Fazil Olanian just able to knock that in. And the winger's done well here, absolutely well. He's got the pace factor, plays down the wing as we know. And 15 points now for Team Singapore. Things are beginning to, well, swing in favor of the home team. I do believe that the Hong Kong China Dragons just, well, stalled a tad bit there. Well, almost had it together for a little bit. And I think this time opting to lose his protective headgear for a change. And that's Lucius Yao. He will want to make this count. And that's finally through. 1 out of 3 ain't bad, you'd think. Well, if you can remove your skull cap, sometimes things can just work in your favor, but 17 points. And that's been an interesting turn of events here for us. So 17-0. And that's just going to sail out for a tad bit. The ball definitely in touch. So it's been a very good start here for, well, Team Singapore. But keep in mind the fact that the Hong Kong China Dragons, well, getting acclimatized, and they might, of course, change things around a tad bit later on. But for now, well, the Singapore development team, it's been a good fusion of sorts with these lads. An excellent team spirit that we're looking at. Here goes Osman back again. Well, just to be stopped in his tracks, not for too long. Lucas Xiao pulling it away. It's been a very, very interesting, well, evening for us. As I did mention this earlier, we did think that the rain was going to play spoil sport, but, well, just not good enough to stop, well, an exciting game here. And very quickly, just want to, well, always run you through our unsung heroes. Our main referee is Just Wang. Our assistant referee one is, or the touch judge one is Darok Chua. Adeline Chu is our assistant referee two. And our reserve assistant referee is Leo Weiliang. We've also got Sufyan Ahmed. And the manager, of course, for the referees is Ismail Kadir. I always believe without the officials, you never, ever can run the show. And they play such an integral part. It is all, as I said, you know, those little infringements, you know, in rugby, those fouls that have a hairline difference from each other that really make the sport so very special. And it's one of the greatest, I think, you know, misconceptions that a sport like this, anything goes. It's far from it. There's probably more, well, rules and regulations in here than most other sports, so it is tough. The line out back again. That's to the noseman. And it's Casey. Sean Casey, well, in a familiar spot back again. He's been stuck in that seat. Moved around almost like a carousel. And it's another try, yeah. And once again here, well, Paul Sharma is doing extremely well. So it's 22 points in the bag, chance for a conversion. So 2 tries here for Paul Sharma. Well, he's the one who got the team on the scoreboard for the first time. Lucas Xiao, removing your headgear might just be a bit better. Well, it did work for him the last time. A fairly closer here with the conversion. Will take his time. And that's another successful one for him. So it's 24 points on the board. And Team Singapore are certainly beginning to look a lot stronger. Well, just about 6.5 minutes left in this period of play. But keep in mind the fact that things can change at any given point of time. But it's a fairly sharp lead. You know, 24 points, 2 tries there for Paul Sharma, and then Chris Hodges and Fazal Olanian also, well, contributing, and 2 successful conversions for Lucas Xiao. Well, there's always going to be a bit of a tussle, you know, between the teams, but it's actually been really good. I'd say fair play at its best. Just had you know, one bit of a skirmish, and that was with that first try, and I wouldn't blame, you know, the opposition or, you know, the visitors for that. It's back to the scrum. And this time it is Eric Chui, the Dragon scrum half. Well, did not find a way through the first time around. Did the second, but I think Referee Just Wang just pulling, well, the stop on that. And the lads will have to reassemble in position. Well, a fairly spirited run coming in there. This time it was Guan Yu Lam. Actually one of the reserves, but he's, well, been on the pitch. Well, just a small little note on a referee too, Just Wang. You want to put that ball as far away as you can and as close to, well, nailing a try as possible, but just a quick shout out to a referee, and also, well, Christabel Lim, who's not here today, but she, along with Just Wang, were in Fukuoka, Japan, for the final match of the Asia Rugby Women's Championship between Japan and Hong Kong, China. And that was just close to a week back. So Just Wang is a very well-traveled, well, referee. We do have, well, our first injury worry, and it looks more like a cramp than anything that could be too detrimental. Just a quick word there as well for, well, the Hong Kong Dragons 15 scrum half from the sidelines. And it was Sean Casey, I think, who was down. Yes, it was. Probably just a bit of a worry there for his right leg. Could have been just a cramp or a light muscle pull. Nothing that'll keep him out. The line out, and a chance here for, well, Ryan Yao of the Dragons. That's pulled away smartly. Was eyeing an opportunity there, but, well, Zhao Jin King, well, just stopped. Well, just stopped in his tracks, and I do believe just a bit of a skirmish there between Sean Casey and the lads, and referee Just Wang just asking. Well, the ball's not even there. And I don't think he's going to be too pleased about that. And he'll have a quick word with our, well, assistant referee. And our assistant referee that he's talking to, of course, is Liao Wei Liang, is Darak Chua. Well, sometimes, you know, touch judges or assistant referees can always, well, get a fair view of where the ball is not in play. And Eric Tree and Well, Russell Wong in conversation there with the official. I think Sean Casey's just struggling a little bit with his right foot. So forcing the line out once again. It will be interesting because now that is as close as possible to the Dragons, well, being able to score their first try. And if they can do that just before, you know, that half-time whistle goes off, it's going to be interesting. That's pulled away here by Eric Chui. But Wesley, well, stopped in his tracks as he was running ahead. Eric gets it away once more. Well, the Dragons do have a plan in action. Will they be able to pull it off? I think that's a big question here. Samuel Che also stopped. And Chris Hodges just throwing himself totally into that defensive move. Well, Hodges is the number 8 for the team. Also in the national team, by the way. Sean Casey pulling it away. And that's, well, just a bit of strength. Well done there to fend off that move by Brandon, but not for too long. And I do believe that Lucius Yao was just caught there, but Singapore just making sure this time that the Dragons don't get too close. So that's pretty much the end of the first period of play. 40 minutes done. Keep in mind the fact that Team Singapore started off well. They've had 4 tries and then 2 conversions to finish off with 24-0. It's going to be interesting. So Singapore development 24, Hong Kong China Dragon 15s, well, 0 in that first period of play. Well, stay with us. Don't go anywhere. No problem, no problem. If you've been with us right from the start of this event, then you would know very well. Well, Team Singapore did start off with a bit of a splash here. Not a bit of a splash, but a big splash. 24 points on the board against the Hong Kong China Dragons of 15s. And it's going to be a very interesting battle. So that 24-point lead is what Team Singapore development took into the break. And as we get into that second period of play, let's find out in the next 40 if, well, the Dragons can roar on the turf of the Lions. It's going to be an interesting one, a really interesting one. So let's get straight down to business. Referee Just Wang is the man in charge. And I did say this earlier that, you know, this is, well, Team Singapore development welcoming the Hong Kong China Dragons to their stable, and that's pretty much where the niceties end, because it gets all competitive after that. And we've just seen that in that first 40.
I'm on your outside, mate.
Team Hong Kong China will win the benefit of that call.
Pressure on now.
So that's very interesting. And if you're wondering who is, well, the rose among the referees today, or our assistant referee, that's Adeline Chu. There goes Sean. For the Hong Kong China Dragons, well, they're definitely, coming with a different mindset now. They would have had a change of plans, as put forward by their coach. Well, the lights just, well, the lights have gone off in the sky, but remember, floodlights always do help us. Well, got to credit some of the lads from the Singapore development team. They've been able to fend off attacks. I've seen that done earlier by Brannon and also by Hugh. So all said and done, it's definitely going to be, well, another opportunity here. A battle for the ball with the scrum. As Lucius Yao, well, is the man who led it for most part. This time there could be a change because you've got, well, Hisham Khalid, who's come in, and he might make a difference here. They had a couple of substitutions, so fresh pair of feet here. But Hisham just restoring it back to, well, the scrum half. And it will be, of course, Lucius Yao. Well, the lads just taking a bit of time to group together. referee just Wang, just putting paid to that. Well, absolutely wouldn't be too happy about it. One of the best parts of well, that first period was we just saw a couple of breakaways that did really well, including, you know, the man on the wings, Fazal, doing an excellent job to, well, further things for the home team. Having said that, well, I did want to get you in the loop about the whole, you know, Dragons development program, and that's something that, you know, we probably would have neglected to look at in depth, and there's a reason for it. It just adds so much depth, you know, to this encounter more than anything else. Now the Hong Kong China, you know, Rugby Dragons squad. It's a 23-player squad, and it's a part of the relaunched, you know, Hong Kong China Rugby organization's Dragons program. The program was started in 1990 by the former HKCR Board of Directors, member George Simpkins, and the idea was to help players hone in their skills, to, you know, get developed to a really professional level, to create clear pathways and community rugby to high performance levels. That was really the main reason. The program lead for the Dragons are also very important. There's Salom Yu Kam Shing, the Hong Kong China men's sevens record cap holder and the double Asian Games gold medalist. He is the program lead for the Dragons. So that's very interesting. Now the traveling squad that we are looking at today in the white and blue have been selected from 40 player training groups, narrowed down from 140 nominees during initial tryouts. All the players aged between 18 and 28. And that's really, you know, how deep it runs as far as the background to this team goes. So it's interesting. The idea is development. The idea is to help, you know, build a super squad in a way. And exposure to playing different nations is always one of the greatest, well, ever building blocks for any sport, not just rugby. Just trying to figure out what well, the conversation there was, but I don't think that's going to matter too much, because one thing is for certain. Team Singapore do have the slight advantage. But not for too long, and just to remind you, the referee will call that back in favor of Team Hong Kong China, and it's Eric Chui who send that ball back into action. So 7 minutes into that second period of play, we haven't had too much of a change, with that scoreline still swinging in favor of Team Singapore. And I think that that's going to be the interesting, well, part of this affair. As I said, you know, fresh pair of feet on will make a huge bit of a difference. And at that spot, well, Harish Krishnan, well, who's also coming now for Team Singapore Development. Harish also another one of those really, well, dedicated rugby exponents. Have well, had him sit alongside me in the commentary box in the past. A wonderful lad. Has a full-time job by day. if I'm not mistaken, Harish is a lawyer. And most of the lads here, well, they all have, you know, such diverse careers, and it's quite interesting. It's the same with Hong Kong China Dragons. Can't afford to have, well, slippery hands or the ability not to intercept in this part of the game, especially when you're playing at this level. And I do believe that, well, the coach for Hong Kong China Dragons would have definitely had a change in their approach and strategy. They're just looking a bit tighter for this part of play. Having said that, the Singapore players, of course, also have had a few changes, you know, on the pitch, and that's going to make a difference. There's definitely an attempt here to, you know, change things around as far as the visitors are concerned. 10 minutes into that second period of play. And I do believe that if there's something that they've got to do, and that would be, well, just to change things around a little bit. When you're up against the home team, it's a line out. Well, the Dragons holding their own here. And it's well done to hold on to possession, but not for too long. It's stopped in its tracks this time was Zhao Jin King. The referee just making sure that, well, the visitors do have, well, the responsibility here to force well, the line out, and that's exactly what they do. Well, Team Singapore would have tried to, well, avoid that, but interception was never going to be easy with the ball sailing out or into touch. So here we go. Stepping up, it's Tak Lung. Chung Tak Lung is the lad who's made his way onto the pitch in that second period of play. He's had it out for the first half. Adapted plan in here, well executed so far, but not for too long. Well, Hugo Mock just stopped in his tracks. Mock had it covered for most part. And the Dragons just getting a bit closer with every single move, and I think this could definitely work in favor of them. The ball's put into touch once again, which means, well, the line out just drawing closer and closer to its destination. Well, as long as you can get to the goal line or the try line and you can keep pushing ahead, I think that's the important part. Well, hydration for the lads, and that's always going to work well for you, and the reason for that is we do have a player who's well been injured for Hong Kong China. It could be just a bit of fatigue or a bit of cramping. So all said and done, There's still a good bit of time for the visitors, well, to pull up their socks, get back into the act. I don't think that it's never over till it's over in the game of rugby, and we all know that. So very interestingly, of course, we do have, well, one of the lads being attended to, and well, I do think we might have a change on the pitch. One of the Hong Kong China Dragons team will be substituted. While we talk of that, here's the line out for Team Singapore, resting it well. Well, they're close to their own goal line. Quick enough clearance. The ball goes back into touch. It's happened a couple of times here. Team Singapore just being a tad bit stingy there with possession, and there's a reason for it. Well, just trying to push his way through. Haresh Krishnan. All's fair with the lads as you get back into the action. Don't know if you noticed, well, the scrum half, you know, Anselm Wangchun just getting a bit of a nudge earlier. But all's fair between the lads. And the line out once again. This time will swing in favor of the Dragons. That's a very sweet bit of interception. That's all about whether, you know, the Dragons can push this through. Quick collect there by Justin. Well, down the right flank. And that's where you notice the best runs always, but that's where always the best tackles also take place. So it's never, well, a done area to find success. Well, the extreme left and the right, you know, off the field will always be, well, the most desirable area for a run, and it looks like we've got another injury there. We do have, well, the team medic will just rushing in. Rugby is always going to be, besides the fact that it's a tactical or a game that, a sport that requires strategy, it's always going to be a physical game, and it's why the lads love it. It's why we all love it. And it's not unnecessary aggression, but it's really about, you know, the strongest bodies going up against the strongest bodies, and there's always bound to be, you know, bruises of sorts. Well, more in the 15s than in the 7s for certain. Because in the 7s we've always had sprinters, and the lads who can tackle them are also sprinters. It's another. It's just so strange, isn't it? It's just such a different modification, and such a wonderful modification. You know, unlike other sports that have you know, different versions that are played, or the shorter versions. And, you know, the rugby, you know, federation worldwide, just creating two different forms of rugby in a sense that actually play out as two different sports, although it's one and the same. And that's the joy of it, isn't it? I mean, in the good old days, it was always said you just remove, you know, the big beefy lads, you know, from the 15s, and what you're left with are, you know, the lean 7 lads who can really run. But today it's not the same because you have, lads playing both forms of the game too. Just a bit of a worry there for Isaac Y. He will be tended to. And we will resume with the action right here. Let's remind you once again that this is an international friendly being played out between the Singapore development team and the Hong Kong China Dragons 15s. We are coming at you live from the Jurong West Stadium, also known as the Active SG Stadium. And it's a wonderful place, one of my favorite places, because I've always said this. It has a fascinating storybook-like, scenario. The pitch in front of me, and then you've got those apartments all around that look a bit like Lego blocks from a distance, and then you've got the trains running on the right side. We'll probably try and get you a shot of that too later, but the trains running on the right because you've got the station that's very close by. Absolutely wonderful place, and always great to come back here. Very airy, clean, lovely air as well, in this part of town. Not too much of traffic. There is a little bit, but that also adds to the beauty. It looks like Legoland to me. I don't know if you're a fan of Lego, but I am. And getting straight down to the line out once again. Just about 2 minutes shy of hitting the 6T here. Hong Kong China will make sure that their interception remains fairly rock solid for this part. Well, almost had the ball, but nowhere to go. And that was Tak Lung Cheung. Just putting that ball back into touch once again, the scrum half, Eric Chui. Well, don't forget that the closer you get to that try line of Team Singapore, well, the better it's going to be for the Hong Kong China Dragons, and that definitely is their intention. But Team Singapore have been very, very well organized in defense, and they've been able to keep away any attacks. Oh, that was a very well-spirited run. Almost thought that he was going to pull that through. And that's Max Lee. Absolutely wonderful job being done by him. Well, sometimes when you do get into a mall, it can be a bit of a problem. We've definitely got a player down there, and that, well, it depends on how many lads land up on top of you or what angle you're tackled at. I was just a bit concerned. He was clutching his head when he was down there. Normally a tad bit of a worry, but it looks like it's more a leg problem, so nothing like the magic spray to do its bit, to do its job rather. It's also a good time for the guys to get hydrated. Well, it has been hot in these parts of Singapore in the past couple of days. Absolutely bright sunshine. Starts very early in the morning. Would have loved, for the darkness to linger a little bit longer, but was just hit really hard the other day. We're at about 7 o'clock or 7:15. It was bright sunlight streaming through the windows. Just a reminder that I needed to be up for the day. No excuses to stay in bed. And then we've had spots of rain in these parts as well. And today I think it was such a great setting. The rain just cooling things down a tad bit. makes it a lot easier. And the weather's been very pleasant this entire evening. And I'm sure that, the lads, the athletes on the pitch definitely appreciate that. So the scrum back again, and the Hong Kong China Dragons definitely still will be eyeing that opportunity because they've got here to this position once before, twice before. Once in that first period it was on the other side, and I think it'll be very important for them to try and salvage a bit of pride to begin with. And you never know, you pretty much get the first one started, and then it's fairly addictive as far as scoring is concerned. Team Singapore development, well, I won't say they've been quiet, but Hong Kong China have reorganized their defense too, and they've done very, very well. So we're looking at about 20 minutes of play in that second period, and there's been no tries scored by Team Singapore. And you've got to credit the lads in white and blue. They've been doing their maximum, putting in their best effort here. Another quick run will be thwarted. The Dragons holding their own just for a tad bit. And here goes Eric Chui back in a familiar position. So no kick taken, and I think the smart thing to do would be to opt in for the scrum, and I think the Dragons definitely know that at this point they can make a bit of a difference. Well, that's as close as it gets. Well, just an inch away from the finish line. Well, the Dragons are hungry here. Can they finish it off? And it's Eric, of course, being stalled there once again. A bit pick up there from Justin. Pass to the right flank by Tak Lung. That's called strong offensive, as Wengton Lau will just kept at bay. Held off fairly strong, and this time Swan Yu Lam. It's all about being able to find a pathway, through the crowd, and if you can do that, it's always going to serve you well. I don't believe that there's too much of passage that the home team have allowed the visitors. Having said that, we've got another lad down who's got a bit of a worry with his left foot. Well, athletes, especially in a sport like this, you're always going to cramp up a bit. You'll get a pull every now and then. It's just part and parcel of what happens in the sport. "64 minutes in. The visitors still searching for, well, their first opportunity to get across that or to reach the try line. 2 times they've come within sniffing distance of it. And the ball in touch, which means it's going to be a line out. It will be interesting. Good work there for Rangton Lau. Well, the attempt to get past that Singapore defence has been strong. And I do believe that it's been, well, met with, well, resistance every time. And that's, I think that's been a bit of a worry for, you know, the travelling team, because the Singapore development lads have been very quick, well, to keep an eye on any sort of offensive move or attack coming in, especially down the flanks. The middle ground totally covered, absolutely no way past. So the scrum comes back into play. It will be interesting to see how well the Dragons navigate through this. Well, so far so good. Sao Jin King, well, always gets it to a fair point before he is told. This time it's picked up by Justin Lai. Well, a bit of a sneaky move, but not too long, and here he's going to break away. That is an interesting run. Will he be able to get it past the try line? And yes, he does. Well, that is an absolutely fantastic counter move. And much needed here. So Brandon Noble, well, does well to make this count. So Brandon Noble taking the points up to 29. Was an absolutely wonderful finish from him. That's always copybook rugby, isn't it? The one lad that breaks away and then the whole contingent that chases him. It's a conversion success as well. And 31 points. That's what Team Singapore, well, sits with. Well, I do believe that Hong Kong, China, the Dragons would definitely like to, you know, pull one back. Would give them much joy because, well, you do want to take something out of this encounter. And the easiest way to do it is really to score. Well, it took Singapore almost a good 28 minutes in that, well, second half to find themselves among the points again. Well, they've been the only ones who scored today, to be fair to them. It's 31. It's pretty much a massive lead, actually. Five tries in there, 3 conversions.
Yes, good thinking. Stay alive. Take it off 9, mate.
One of the best parts about this event is, as I said earlier, it's all aimed towards development and the honing skills of many of these lads. I was just looking back at some of the clubs that these teams represent, and it's very interesting because some of them, of course, have played for, have played for their national squads, but you just look at the current lineup, Tatlung plays for Kowloon, then you've got Wing Yatiao, who plays for the USRC Tigers, Roington plays for Sandy Bay, Zhao Tianlong plays for USRC Tigers, so does Sung Wai Shing. Then you've got Isaac Watt playing for, HK Scottish. Calvin Chang playing for USRC Tigers. And here we go back again with the line out. The Dragons, of course, seizing the opportunity here. And most of these lads do play for clubs. And the same goes for the Singapore development team. A lot of the lads do play for their respective clubs. As we know, of course, Russell Wong is leading the Singapore development team today, which is why he and the opposition's man in charge is having a conversation. That looks like another easy run. Did not have to waste too much of time with that. Well, that was pretty much a walk rather than a run for him. And that's just going to move up to 35. And this time it was the number 6, Hugh Lindsay. So a successful conversion as well, and it's now 38 points in the bag for Team Singapore. So it was number 6, Hugh Lindsay, with the try earlier. got another player, well, injured, who's just going to be let off field. And it looks like an arm injury.
It's a block his shoulder. You're not worried, it's okay.
So just, well, a quick one for the scorer, of course, earlier with the try, and that was the number 12 and not the number 6, so I do stand corrected. That's Andrew Wallace. Andrew, of course, does grace the national squad as well. So Andrew Wallace with the try. That's picked up safely. Not too much of a worry here, I would believe. Andrew Wallace will be very keen on getting another one through, if possible. Well, it's definitely been scoring season here for Team Singapore. 38 points. That's fairly massive, and we're just about a little under, well, 3.5 minutes, well, left in play. I think the Dragons will have to get a do-or-die effort here. If they have to salvage a bit of pride, well, score one. There's been a couple of injuries galore for them. Well, I do believe the Singapore development team has also played very hard, and they've really played with purpose here. But as I've said this before, it's always wonderful to see teams like this go up against each other. The chance to watch two different styles entirely, being played out, two different nations, and there's always a joy in that. There's a different kind of joy as to when you watch a club encounter. Not taking anything away, from, I'm a fan of, a club action as well, but national pride changes everything. Another quick attempt to try and get one through. Well, just a bit of damage control being done there. I thought it was going to be slippery hands for a tad bit, but not this time. Well, the Dragons holding off that, Singapore attack for a long period of time. But finally, the Lions just getting their way through. So the scrum back in action, and as we, are nearing, well, the finish of this encounter, could there be another try left in store? Well, cleared the danger, and you just might be able to get yourself closer to the opposition's try line. That's called, well, just bulldozing your way through. Well, do keep in mind the fact that the finest, well, exponents of the game, it's never really about, just being able to break away and run, but it's also about being able to create a pathway. And all those hours and years of training against the dummies, oh, how important are they? Once again, that ball, well, in touch, so well, I would believe it would have been an opportunity for, well, the Dragons to make this count. Team Singapore Development is organizing their defense lines more than anything else. Well, one thing is for certain, well, getting past that, line of red and black, it's been fairly tough today, and you've got to give credit where credit is due. The home team have really, as I said earlier, played hard. They've been very organized in defense. They've been very, very opportunistic in attack. And I think that is where, the line of difference well stands. The Dragons will get stronger as time goes on. There's no doubt about it. Do not forget that Hong Kong, China, one of the most dedicated, well, places for rugby. It's almost like a religion in those parts, even more than, other sports. And that's pretty much how it's all going to pan out here. It's been a very, very good event. I think a great chance for, the Hong Kong China Dragons 15 to have, well, gone up against, well, Team Singapore Development, but at full time, it's Singapore Development 38, Hong Kong China Dragons 0. Well, we do hope you've enjoyed our coverage of this encounter. It was brought to your screens by Ikram and his team, well, led by, Zaki here today and the crew. But for me, Glenn Mascarenas, it's time to shut shop and ship out of here, and I'll be back with you again for another rugby encounter back at this very venue. And let's not forget a credit to the Singapore Rugby Association for, as always, putting their heart and soul into this event. Thank you so much for joining us. And once again, the final score for you: Singapore Development 38, Hong Kong China Dragons 15 0. Goodbye for now, and catch you again real soon.